Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome. It's Orange Bloods Live right here on Orange Bloods. I'm Jeff Ketchum, holding it down solo today. Chad Hastings doing the orientation thing with his daughter. One more day. He's getting to enjoy a little summertime, as you can see. I need a vacation. That's how I feel today. There will be no vacation in Mudville today. Do me a solid. Hit that thumbs up button. Like it. Like this video. Subscribe to the channel. We'll be talking Texas football recruiting and Texas football and all that stuff throughout this entire episode. Jump into the Specs chat. Chat it up. Send some super chats. I like money. We'll do it. Just so you know, as we get started, we are anticipating that Longhorns could add a commitment today. We'll be talking about Samari Matthews, a.k.a. Smoke Matthews, a.k.a. the stop to the bleeding for Texas football recruiting. Maybe. Again, we'll get to that in just a second. We're going to be talking about Texas football recruiting. We did a war room over at Orange Bloods. See that little QR code? You can take advantage of that right now. $1 right now. Check it out for a week. $1. You can read the war room. Anwar Richardson brought the fire this weekend. Technically last night. Came out Thursday night. So unless you're doing a 4-day or maybe it wasn't quite the weekend, it's the weekend. We'll be talking about why, and we've done this for a lot of the week, but why Texas fans need to chill out. Really. I'm kind of at my wit's end with this panic thing. It was funny at first. When it was like, oh, it's the summertime. We're going to do that thing where everybody panics that Texas isn't getting enough commitments, knowing that they just had the number one recruiting class in this past year, and it was kind of the same thing in the summer. It feels like it's an annual rite of passage, right? We know it's hot. We know we've reached June in July when these things start to happen, but Texas has missed out on a few recruitments, certainly key ones in the last week or so. I think all starting with Felix Ojo, but there were ones around it. And Lamar Brown happens, and then Jamarian Carlton happens and goes to Baylor yesterday. And there's a feeling that the sky is falling. What's going on with Texas recruiting? So we're going to talk about it again today. Specifically, why I think we'll talk about what's happening. We'll talk about why there's no reason to panic. And then, look, everybody can decide from there whether or not that's how they feel. The show, though, brought to you by the guys over at Hijack Poker and Texas Card House. Oh, I haven't played this week. I'm jonesing. Officially jonesing. I need to get online. I could do it right now, but it probably wouldn't be great for the show for me to be playing in the nooner. They got the $10 tournament going on right now. Look, the bottom line is download it to your phone, play it on your desktop, real poker for real money against real people. Right now, it's happening. Tournaments, cash games, you name it, they've got it. You can play anywhere inside the state of Texas, but once you leave the state lines, it's over with. So you got to play in Texas. You can deposit with your credit card. You can do just anything you want to. Go play cards in person at any of the 6 locations in the side of the state of Texas. We do love the Card House being our sponsors. You can see it. It's right there at the top of our header. We care about them. So Onward did this thing in the war room, and it sounded in a lot of ways like a lot of the conversations that we've been having this week. There were a few things in there that I thought were interesting that I hadn't come out and said, including behind the scenes, Texas believes they've got silent commitments from 3 major recruits. Now, I think one of them may be Smoke Matthews, the kid that's going to announce tonight. He's ranked number 30 by Rivals.com, number 70 by On3. They'll probably merge those things together when it's all said and done, and Rivals comes out with its next rankings, but he's basically a borderline top 100 guy by 24/7 and on ESPN as well. He's a borderline super blue chip. And again, if you go by the Rivals ranking, I think he certainly would count as one of those. One of the things that Onward made a point of saying in the war room that I think is really critical for what happens with recruiting for the Longhorns moving forward is that, and I've been reporting this for 6-7 months, but I think it's really exasperated in the moment. If you go back to December, one of the things after Texas lost to Ohio State in the playoffs was an acknowledgement from behind the scenes that from Texas's perspective moving forward, they were all in on 2025 the way, in their words, and the people that I talked to behind the scenes at Texas, they were all in on 2025 the way that Ohio State was in on Ohio State's 2024 season. That there was a whole lot about the long-term future of Ohio State's fiscal situation. How would they continue to pay players? How big would the bill get? There wasn't revenue sharing yet. Everybody had heard that the cost had climbed above $20 million. And then they were rewarded with a national championship. And I had heard behind the scenes, and I'd reported this in the war room and here on the show here on Orange Was Live, that Texas was going to approach everything that they were doing moving forward in 2025 was about 2025. Every dime, every decision, everything about the quest to do it now. Well, the cake's in the oven. There's not a whole lot now you can do to improve 2025. It's improved. They're sitting at 85 scholarships. They're in their summer workouts. SEC Media Days are Monday. Sark will speak on Tuesday. I think we're 51 days away from from the season opener, if I'm not mistaken. 51, 50, something like that. So we're getting closer. And now all of the team building is about 2026. Every decision, every dollar, every call. And I think this has evolved to some degree over the course of the last couple of weeks. I think there has been a shift. Because I think the Texas coaches have been in competition mode. They want Jamarian Carlton. They want Felix Ojo. They want all these guys that they've been recruiting. But I think over the course of the last month, it's become clear what the costs of a guy like Jamarian Carlton might cost. He picks Baylor yesterday. Now, this is an unverified number. But I got this from somebody that I absolutely trust. In fact, I don't know that I'd stand in front of the firing squad on his word, but he's been good to me for years. He's not led me stray. He just hasn't. And sometimes he doesn't tell me things. And that's when I need to be listening. Sometimes he tells me by not telling me. Sometimes he just flat out tells me. But this source threw out 9 hundo yesterday when talking about Baylor and Jamarian Carlton. Allegedly, right? It's unverified, but I'm telling you, I had a source tell me that was a scuttlebutt. 9 hundo. Now, look, that's not crazy. That's more than Texas Tech is trying to claim that Felix Ojo is getting, which is why I don't believe the cockamamie Texas Tech. Oh, that's spread out over 18 years, and really it's just going to be deferred, and it's not as much as it. They're just trying to save face and not have every one of their best players come in when the season's over saying, we just want what he has. Give us the Meg Ryan. We'll have what she's having. So it's like, oh, no, it's like 750. Like 900 is not crazy. And if Baylor gave that to Jamarian Carlton, it's less than what guys that were of his note were getting last year, if I'm being completely honest. It's less than, it's a ballpark what Texas has been. A lot of these super blue chips, these high 4 stars, 5-star guys, that's kind of the number that they've been getting. I think Texas had a chance. They wanted to pay 9 hundo or whatever it was that he got. I got the sense that they could have. And one of the things that I was told yesterday by a source was that kid's probably not playing for us in 2026. And that is not how they've approached recruiting. You got to go back. We had this conversation yesterday on the show. When you think about it, you think back to last year's true freshman class. Colin Simmons was the only starter that emerged, and I don't even think he started technically. I had to go back and look what his official – we know he played, but technically Trey Moore was the starter. And I'm not going to belabor the point by looking it up, but I don't even know what technically they counted him from a starts standpoint, Colin Simmons last year. But Ryan Wingo wasn't a starter, and those were kind of the only 2 guys. There were others that played. Ty Anthony Smith played some at linebacker. Alex January got some snaps. There were guys that played, but nobody really had significant roles. You look at this year, we start talking about who are the true freshmen on the 2025 team that we think are going to have a major impact. Quarterback? Nope. Running back? I don't think James Simon is going to be that guy, but hey, I think he's the 6th highest rated guy on the new college football game among true freshmen. So maybe they know something we don't know. There is excitement about James Simon. There's just a lot of guys coming back. Wide receiver? Maybe that's the one area that we're just not quite sure what to expect from that position. Tight end? Probably not. Offensive line? Probably not. Defensive tackle? Maybe. But they didn't take 5 guys in the portal because they were going to count on a bunch of the true freshmen. Linebacker? Probably not. Bo Barnes probably not going to play a whole lot. In the secondary, it's really tough sledding. Like Jonah Williams, in theory, is about as good as it gets. Can he get on the field a bunch as a true freshman? It remains to be seen. So I think Texas is looking at recruiting right now, and they're asking themselves, what are the key positions? We got to get those. We're always going to care about quarterback, D end, D tackle, offensive line. But where are our priorities, and where are guys going to play right away? And I think the attitude towards Carlton has changed in the last couple of weeks. I think the cost probably became crystal clear. And I think they've decided we're not doing that right now. Maybe later. Maybe we'll change our mind in December. But if something's going to cost $1 million in 2026, it's going to help towards the 2026 team. Or we'll go get something in the portal. And I think that's a real interesting strategy. I think we're watching the strategy of Texas football recruiting change slightly. This isn't quite what they did in 2025, and it doesn't completely mesh with what Sarkisian has been doing the last few years. But Texas is making choices. Both with, look, and I'll say this, the Felix Ojo money last year, not crazy. I kind of look at what they do, what the 5.1 over 3 years does not sound completely crazy from what allegedly motivated Justice Terry to come to Texas. Okay? But things have changed. The settlement's in. You can't just pay guys with your collective any old way you want to. There's an auditing system and there's all this stuff. But nothing about the Ojo money when it was reported sounded crazy to me. Mark Bowman, $2.8 million a year from USC. That sounded crazy to me. Felix Ojo, that's kind of the going rate. It didn't sound crazy. When it was reported that it was like Texas Tech was coming back and there were sources telling prominent college football reporters that it's like $775. And really, we're paying him with food stamps. It's not even really $775. That sounded, that doesn't sound right. When the word was going out that Carlton was not quite $1 million, but not far below it, that kind of sounded like, that's all right. But for the first time ever, because I had sources tell me days ago, they were not completely sold that this was going to happen with Carlton. I think there's some division. I think this is so new. There's not like universal, unanimous consent and agreement on the Texas staff about this. Because again, I think a week ago they wanted Felix Ojo. I think a week ago they would have said, God, of course we want Carlton. But I think the reality of what it would mean as the week approached, what it would mean to get those guys, I think some hard decisions have been made. I think what we're hearing is that it's 2026. And I'll read this part from the War Room. This is on Wars reporting. It said, quote, one thing you need to know, the staff is focused on 25 and 26. According to my sources, they expect Arch Manning to return after the season. They believe that Manning will be the Texas' starter for 2 seasons, which backs up what I've reported multiple times. Colin Simmons is a sophomore. The only draft-eligible player in the receivers room is DeAndre Moore, and he'll need a breakout season to turn pro. Texas wants enough money to retain key players after the season, and overspending on unproven high school players is not an option. That is a change in philosophy to some degree, but it is consistent with everything that we know started to happen with Texas after the January loss to Ohio State. After that loss to Ohio State, Sarkisian and Brandon Harris and everybody within the program, they had over 4 dozen meetings with players, NIL related. They were able to lock everybody down except for one guy, Amari Niblack's the only guy they met with that they didn't keep. Everybody else they were able to keep, but it wasn't cheap. It's expensive. I've outlined all week long. Texas has a top 5 roster. I outlined it in my 10 thoughts in the weekend. The cost of that roster coming back is almost certainly going to cost more than the amount of revenue share that Texas will have available. So, does it sound like sour grapes? Does it sound like the kind of thing when you've gotten your ribs busted up a couple times in recruiting to say, well, we're really not interested in spending that money, come to think of it, on these true freshmen? Yep. It sounds like some BS. And I get it. If anybody around is like, that just sounds like excuses, and that's what you say when you lose, I get it. Some of this might be rationalization, but sometimes an excuse is just the reason why something happens. When I tell you that Texas is 3rd in the country with elite level recruits on their roster right now, and that number is 20, and the average cost of each of those players is about $1 million, and that 17 of those guys will probably be back on next year's team, 17 times $1 million is $17 million. 85 minus 17, anybody want to do the math? 68. That's 68 players that aren't accounted for. They cost 2. It might go to 105. There's expenses that whether or not Texas is making this up as they go along, and I think some of it is, but I think some of it is crystal clear clarity that's come along this week. It's nut cutting time. Are we going to give Jamarian Carlton $900,000 or not? That's the decision that Texas had to make this week. And they were like, no, man, we're good. Actually, no. No, if that money's real and you can get it from Baylor, that's good. You're not going to get it from us. That's the decision that Texas made. Now, you can say, well, that was dumb. Isn't the whole goal to be collecting recruits? Yes. There's no world where acquiring super blue chips is bad. Oh, you want as many 5 stars, you want as many high 4 stars as you can absolutely get. You do. Trust me, you do. But what have I said also earlier this week? The days of having the Alabama and Georgia rosters from 5 years ago will never happen again. It's too expensive. The last time Alabama won a national championship, they had more than 40 consensus super blue chips on their roster. Do you know how many they have right now? 20. Do you know how much it would cost to double the number they have right now? Tens of millions of dollars. Can't be done. Texas will enter next season, if it can keep what it has, with one of the best rosters in college football. What it can't do is overcommit its revenue share money with prospects right now. Guys that won't play. This is what we talked about with Felix Ojo last week. Ojo might not play till 2028. 2026, he's a true freshman. He needs a red shirt. 2027, maybe he's like Trevor Goosby was a year ago, where he can play, but he's not a starter. He's a depth piece. 2028, he's a starter. Here you go. But are you going to pay that guy $3 million to not play? And what are you costing the 2026 team if you have millions tied up in revenue costs and players that aren't playing? Texas is making the decision right now, as they go to some degree. You know what? No, we're not doing it. We're going to slow down. Now, look, They think they've got 3 more Super Blues lined up and ready to go. So they're not like, we're not taking any. They think Smoke Matthews tonight probably goes their way. There's 4, 5. That would actually be their 6th commitment that ranks as a national top 50, 60 player by one of the services. They would still be the only school in the country with 3 that is unanimous. Did you know that? Well, USC might be there. Among Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and Oregon, Texas is the only group in the Big 5 that has more than 2 unanimous Super Blue chips. That's not Samari Matthews. He's not one of those guys. He's just below that. It seems like Texas is making a concerted effort to get 6 to 10 badass mothers at positions that they covet. For instance, I don't think wide receiver is going to be one of those positions this year. It does not look like there's no Decorian Moore that they're sitting on right now. We're not looking at 3 5-star wide receivers and trying to figure out who amongst that group they're taking. I don't think they're going to go big or go home at wide receiver. They may just they're going moderate. It's actually what they're doing. I think we know they want a big time running back. We know they wanted at tight end. I think their goal is we want to have you can take the nation's best, take every recruiting class in the country and take the 10 best players. And we'll take our 10 versus anybody else's 10 in the country. Beyond that, and that's different. I get the sense that that's what Texas is going to do. They're going to load up on their best 10. They are not going to be 20, 25 deep the way that we've probably seen the last few classes. In fact, I had somebody this week say, do not judge our recruiting class based on the ranking at the end of the year. I don't know what it's going to look like. This source was telling me, but it might not be number 1 because we might not sign as many guys this year, which was interesting because they still might go up to 105. How will they get that? Texas isn't spending big money moving forward unless they know it's a guy that can help right away. So I think that means they're going to be more impactful in the portal. It also speaks to, it's funny, I saw an article earlier today, and there's 80% of the deals that DeLotte has been getting so far are being rejected. There's a real sense that at the end of the recruiting cycle, a bunch of recruits are going to find out that the money that they've been promised isn't real, and that there's going to be a flood of activity from players who are like, I was promised $1 million. I'm not getting $1 million. I'm not going to school A now. What now? And I think Texas feels like, you know what we're not doing? We're not overpromising. Texas feels like they're going to sit back, and they feel like there is either going to be the ability to take advantage of this situation in the portal, or they think when the checks start bouncing or not materializing in December, that they will be there to reap the rewards. And that's kind of the strategy right now. But they are not going to spend money with regards to 2026 recruiting right now, I think, on players. I've heard it with Ojo. I've now heard it with Carlton. And look, are those guys they lost? Yes, but we know flat out Texas just not willing to go up to the levels that those players were costing Baylor and Texas Tech. They're not overspending in the market. They're not going to spend $900,000 on a freshman defensive end that might not even be their best freshman defensive end. They've got Richard Wesley. It's just trickier. Again, it's Orange Bloods Live. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that. We've grown more this week on the channel than we have at any point this week. I do want to circle back around to Smoke Matthews, though. Again, I don't know. Will we go live? Maybe we'll go live tonight with Samari. He is right now one of, when Anwar sources said they feel like they've got 3 guys who are super blue chips who are lined up and ready to go. Matthews certainly qualifies. A lot of conversation about South Carolina and Texas. It feels like going into the decision tonight, pretty strong Texas. Pretty strong Texas. I think it'd be a real surprise if they don't get him. He is 30th in the nation by Rivals, 83rd on three, 99 by ESPN, 119 by 24/7. His on-three industry ranking is 70th nationally. He's basically, Rivals has him as the number 3 corner in the country. Everybody else basically has him as a top 10 guy. Rivals has him as the number 2 player in the state of North Carolina. The consensus is at worst top 10 player in the state of North Carolina. So, plus his nickname is Smoke. Get better than that for me. Let's see what's going on. Texas in the chat says, I want a 5-star tight end, pay him. Well, they're trying. They're trying. But I also think, I'm telling you, I think real low key, think about what Texas did in the portal in the spring. When they went after Murad Watson, when they made the moves that they did, you know, going after Mosley from Stanford, those things were set up before the window opened. What have I said about all of those deals? Every kid's got multiple years of eligibility remaining. If you look at what Texas did in the portal in the spring, which is different than what they did in the portal in the winter, because they knew they had so much retention to work on, they were just spooked a little bit. They didn't want to give Max Clare, or even, I think they were even nervous about Emmanuel Pregnon. They might have even gone higher for him than they did, but I think they really were concerned. You know, what if they could go back and they knew, okay, nothing's going to happen. Would they have given Pregnon $2 million? Probably not. I don't know. They were, you know, the word going around the street was that was not, I don't know that he got 1.5, but like it was the word on the street was that Oregon and Texas were comparable from an offer standpoint, that Texas didn't go the distance, but I think there was some real concern that they were trying to get this guy. But at the same time, they knew in a couple of weeks, we're going to have conversations with Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons and all of our guys. We can't give Pregnon $2 million. If the word gets out, everybody's going to want $2 million. This is the Felix Ojo thing that we've been talking about. What will Tech have to deal with when this happens? Believe me, Texas and Georgia and Alabama and Oregon, they know better than anybody. You can give these dudes this money, but you got to be careful who you give the money to, because everybody's watching and everybody's talking. And so I think that's it. I think, look, the other thing is Texas's recruiting isn't dire. It's just not raking up, but you know, a healthy amount of perspective. I'll say this again. The big 5 programs in America, the schools that have more than 100 combined super blue chips, and the next 10 don't combine for that. In order, Georgia has 25, Ohio State has 22, Texas and Alabama both have 20, Oregon has 18. Those are the big 5. Then it drops down to 13 with LSU. Then it drops down to 10. Then it drops down to single digits. Those 5 schools double everybody up in America other than LSU. It's crazy, okay? But this year, those 5 schools combined, 5 schools, the 5 biggest schools, they right now, as of this very moment, combine for 8 unanimous super blue chips. What does that mean? Well, that means that On3, 24/7, ESPN, Rivals, all 3 of them rank that prospect as a national, let's say top 60 guy, just top 70, but like 60, 70 ballpark. It's different every year. 8 of those guys exist. 3 are committed to Texas. No school has more, no other school in the Big 5 has more than 2. So, you know, we can talk about, well, Texas isn't recruiting like we expect. Well, no, who is? Who is? Alabama's got 6 super blue chips committed, and it's a lot. It's the most of the Big 5, but only one of them is unanimous, which means only one of them is a consensus top 10 20, 25, 30 guy in the country. Means you got a bunch of guys kind of between 30 and 60. If none of them are, if only one of them is unanimous, that means Texas has guys like Richard Wesley and Dia Bell. They've got those guys and other schools don't. The magnitude of what Texas has landed is more significant than the magnitude of anybody else, not including USC, who doesn't have the roster stackpiled right now that these other schools do. So they're able to do in recruiting right now. Same with Notre Dame. They're able to extend themselves right now because their rosters aren't stacked with the type of high-level recruits that Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, and Alabama have. Jay Lee jumping in with a $5 super chat saying it's absolutely incredible how many people likely saw your video Wednesday and yet are still the comments saying our recruiting is in trouble. LOL, Jay Lee. Jay, that's the thing, man. And I always tell this with my guys on Orange Bloods. You know, you make a tweet at 10 a.m. The only people that really see that are the people that were on at 10 a.m. That, you know, I think sometimes we think because we say something once, it doesn't have to be said again, or we say something twice. I can say things 100 times. There will be people who are watching this video before that have never seen this. It's crazy how many people need the message reinforced. Jay, we see it on Orange Bloods all the time. That stuff that Anwar, a lot of what Anwar reported in the war room, now some of that stuff was like absolutely new and fire, but some of it was just reinforcement of stuff that we've been talking about. And some people read that though and were like, I've never seen that before. My 10 Thoughts on a Weekend is the most read article on Orange Bloods. And so I always kind of think to myself, people have seen my column, they'll see what I write. And then sometimes you're surprised by stuff that I've said 10 times. It's like, wait a minute, I say that in 10 Thoughts on a Weekend every week. And it's like, oh, so you just don't read me ever. You're on Orange Bloods for the community. Touche. It happens. It does happen. Let me double check, make sure that I haven't missed any other super chats. You guys have not been sending super chats that I can see today. Maybe that's a me thing. Maybe I'm not earning your super chats, but I'm scrolling through just to make sure I didn't miss any. I don't see any. No. Okay. Let me go through now, see what I've missed in the chat. Chris Bennett. Sorry, I didn't see this earlier. What up? What up? Money B said that's a lot for a dude that wouldn't start at Texas. No, that's what I'm saying. And that's what people were saying to me. They're just like, hey, not going to do it. Juan wants to know where Chad Hastings is. Juan, Chad, his daughter has like orientation, college orientation today, yesterday and today. Last week, vacation. And then way back in the beginning of June, it was like a vacation with, he's taking a bunch of time off. He gets time off. I'm the one that doesn't get time off, but here's what I hope. One, when I take a day off at some point, I want you guys to care about me as much as y'all care about everybody else. Y'all still think I fired Chad last week. He's okay, I promise. No, he's not. I don't even know. I don't think you meant OTV. I think you meant something else, but no, he's not. He's in San Marcos today. I think. I hate when I do this on the chat. Sometimes it's user error when it's all said and done. Anything else that I've met? Look, Texas says we are poor. All that means, it's not what that means. It's not. It does mean though that Texas is trying to be fiscally smart and that they care more about what's on the roster right now and next year than they do about recruiting right now. That is true. And I think that's fair to say. You guys are wilding in the chat. I've gone back and just skipped through a lot of this. I feel like you guys need a hug. I don't know why DeLoss Dodds was being talked about in the chat. Jack says, y'all want 5-star tight end Caden Prothro. Okay, I'll make him an offer he can't refuse. Jack, like that's a guy that everybody's assumed is going to end up at Georgia. But Georgia keeps on getting tight ends. They're loaded at tight end. Not just in this recruiting class. They're loaded at tight end. Hold on. Do I have this graphic still in? Let me see if I can find it. I hope I didn't delete it. Here it is. This was a graphic that I made last week. This is the number of 5 and high 4-stars on Georgia, Texas, and Ohio State's roster right now this season. Look at tight end. Look at Georgia and tight end. They have 3 now. They've got like 57 tight end commits in this class. They may yet get Caden Prothro. But Texas is fighting. That's one that Texas wants. And, you know, who knows? Maybe Jeff Banks will just take a copy of this full screen graphic right here and go, Caden. I don't want to tell you what to do. I'm not telling you that we're better than Georgia and Ohio State. I'm not. You know what? We didn't beat them last year. But what I am going to tell you is that we have a desperate need for a badass super blue chip come in and play right away tight end. Georgia does not. Ohio State, probably not. They got dudes. Look at that. We don't have any zeros except for one, your position. If you were a quarterback, I'd tell you to go to Georgia. If you were a running back, I'd tell you to go to Ohio State. Jeff Banks needs to be showing this graphic to Caden Prothro, and he just needs to say, hey, baby, follow the zeros, if you know what I mean. But also follow those zeros. Got to get a tight end. I don't disagree. Jack, make that happen. Jack's letting us know he can make that happen. Jack, make it happen. All I'm saying is that, hold on, I got to put the sponsors back up. That's what happens. You put that up and then these things fall down. And you know what? Speaking of sponsors, it's about that time.
Hi, everyone. This is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations. We've been serving and assisting customers in the Texas area.
I think I got this by now, old man. This is Camilla McKay, Audiovisual's social media and website manager. Our company has been helping you sit back and relax for the last 37 years. We come to you, and we're the kind of workers you want in your home. We give you all the advice at a great price, and we do a lot more than just audiovisual systems. We have employees capable of performing services like electrical contracting, heated floors, motorized shades. Am I forgetting anything, old man?
Yeah, we do surveillance systems, controlled lighting systems, and landscape lighting, computer networks, multi-room audio systems, and of course, we install some really cool theaters.
I had a feeling you were going to say that last one.
Now, am I forgetting anything?
Only this. Remember to hug your kids, laugh with strangers, and make love to whoever the hell you want.
So give us a call at 512-255-8678.
Or visit us online at avconsultations.com.
That's 512-255-8678.
Make love to whoever the hell you want. Camilla, it's a crime in some places. I just want to let you know that. I love the gusto, but like I'm just letting you know that there are things that us dudes can't do. That just feels like the kind of thing a woman can say that a guy can't. What are you doing tonight? I don't know. Let me go make hell to whoever the hell I want to. Like that. In America, that'll get you. It used to get you more. It feels like you can get away with it more now than maybe you could a few years ago. Like crazy, the world's kind of crazy. But like even now, I wouldn't suggest that anybody go out and throw that out there. Have I missed anything else in the chat? I just always feel so guilty. I want to make sure. Cotton, I am not putting that on the screen. Michelle, you need to get in control of your people. What in the world is happening in the chat? Jaylee says, Gailey's still on OB. If so, get him in a vid. I like him. Jaylee, he's got a column on Orange Bloods pinned at the top right now. It's called Just a Bit Outside. All that chatter you hear means football's coming. It's right there. Go read Travis. We'll get him on a video. You know what? The thing is, Jay, he works at CBS News. That's like his real job. He's like he's just a guest columnist for us. He's not a full-time guy. He's got a full-time job, and during the day, he has to go, pay the bills. Pay the bills. Sandman. Hug. How about that? There's your hug. I'll give you a hug. I don't know that I want to be your daddy, but I'll be that too, man. I'm not discriminating magic. You just give me $4.99. Look, if you want to send a comment, I'll put it up there. I'm looking for you. Speaking of super chats, Yaggy D testing solo catch shows are preachy. Preach on, brother. I love it. Am I preachy? The thing is, I feel like Will Ferrell when he's answering that question in Old School on the debate stage. When this is over with, I'm just going to fall out and be like, oh, what? Huh. Whew. Huh. What happened? Everybody okay? And you guys will be clapping for me and being like, catch, what a show. What'd I do? It does feel that way sometimes. Thank you very much, Yaggy D. Elijah says, Barnes, not a super blue catch. Tennessee? Yes, but those numbers were consensus blues. That means more than one service had to rank him as a super blue. More than one. That's how you get to be a consensus. It's got to be multiple. For instance, just to answer your question, and you didn't even give me a super chat, but I'm giving you the answer just because I want you to I come up with it, so I should be able to explain it, right? Bo Barnes' rankings as a prospect. I'm pulling them up right now. Hopefully it won't take too long. Okay. On3 had him at number 32 and as a 5-star. So he was an On3 super blue chip, 5-star. 24/7 had him at 78 nationally. ESPN had him at 84. Rivals had him at 167. One service, not consensus. Needed one more, and he would have made the list. Just FYI. You asked. By the way, Benji, I'm with you. Jack's wanting to get it done. I mean, Jack's out here working. Jack's out here doing the Lord's work, is what it seems like. I love that the people are like, guys, don't. I mean, Sandman, you do what you got to do. I'm not going to tell you no. Brad, I'm not going to tell you no either, because I feel like if I say no, Chelsea will win and I will be pissed. PSG's better than Chelsea. But, I mean, Chelsea's super talented. It just feels like at some point, I don't know. I mean, PSG's so good. Chelsea's got at least a puncher's chance, but PSG's good. All right. Well, guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up. I've got to make phone calls. I might have to get ready for a Smoke Matthews show later on today. Lots of stuff to do. It's the weekend too. I might take a day off. I need a vacation, but it ain't happening anytime soon. We should know Monday, SEC Media Days, the Overreaction Monday show. Anwar and I, he'll be live in Atlanta. Sark will speak in front of the media on Tuesday. It's nonstop, wall-to-wall. The football season is here. Hit that thumbs up button. Like the hell out of it. In fact, you know what else you should do? Because, I forgot to do this earlier. Chuckle with me at the voice in this amazing spec spot.
This summer, when the sun scorches and sanity is one sweat beat away from collapse, a hero rises. Specs. Your cathedral of cold cans. Your oasis of cool.
I'm technically your oasis of... No, I'm not. Guys, have a great weekend. Tell your friends about us.